It is the coffee talk. Unfortunately, I don't have my good old pal Courtney here with me again. I promise we will be reunited soon. But moving on to important things. I myself am discussing in this week's coffee talk the Heidi Chronicles, my bad, by Wendy Wasserstein, written in 1988, which addresses the feminist movement of the time and the role of women in terms of the world of the 80s. So, the Heidi Chronicles revolves around Heidi herself and many other characters, including her gay best friend, Peter, the man that she has feelings for and she's sort of sleeping with. I don't exactly agree with it, but that's Heidi's little issue there. We'll get into that. Scoop. And then characters like Lisa and Susan, which are very key to the plot in terms of, like I said, the feminist movement of the time, in terms of Heidi being a very prominent feminist, from starting and during her high school years in the 60s leading up to the 80s, where she's now an art historian. And so she's very prominent in her career. She addresses these issues. However, she does have feelings for a misogynistic man. She sleeps with him. She acknowledges the fact that she's doing so. And she ends up seeing him later in life, marry Lisa. And there's always this tension there. There's always this kind of like odd thing. And for me, what this says is that she doesn't fully understand what feminist is to her, even though she believes she does. And I think that's very key to understand what feminist means, what it means to the individual, and what it means to women all around. And I think sometimes we lose sight of the true meaning of women equality with men as a whole, and that we still struggle as individuals, even if we believe in those rights within ourselves. And so that's kind of what the play revolves around. And of course, there's a lot of topics just between Peter and Heidi in terms of gay issues, and of course, just what it means to be a woman in the 80s as a career woman, and working, diligently during that time. So in terms of how it's received now, I understand why it might have flopped, but I think a lot of people don't understand what the play did for the current feminist movement. Though it may not correlate directly to where we are now within feminism, what it's done for the big picture and for what it did within the 80s, I think that's more critical to know, and a lot of people don't realize that when they first read the Heidi Chronicles. So I can understand from modern feminists today why they may not have loved the Heidi Chronicles as they would have in the 80s. But I think if we see what it's done, I think that's more important to know. And so, did I like the Heidi Chronicles? I absolutely did. I, of course, resonated with Peter, having many wonderful women in my life as well, being a gay best friend. However, I think that many people need to see this because I think it's so relevant to what it's done to feminism today and how critical of a role that it's played in getting us here in terms of women in the career and women being more outspoken today than they were at that time. We have characters like Heidi who, yes, are very vocal and they know these things about feminism, but this kind of play allowed women today, now that where we are, speak out, be vocal about rights like pay gaps, the wage gap, marriage inequality, and just basic things like abortion topics. And so I think that is so important to know for what it's done today, and that's why people need to read this play. I loved it, and I love the commentary that it does, especially with the ending of Heidi choosing to raise a child on her own and adopting and not needing a man. That is so important to the idea that women can do anything. They can adopt without a man. They don't need a man in their life. And Heidi comes to that conclusion finally, getting rid of Scoop. Gotta drink the coffee. But it's so relevant to what it's done for feminists today, and I think that's what we need to put the focus on and forget the fact that we may not understand where they were at that time. Remember what it's done for us today. So, those are my thoughts on the Heidi Chronicles. I loved it, and I'm eager to see what everyone else has to say. Otherwise, my coffee talk today is done. Thank you.